Hi, and welcome to Tawlat Sofra, dinner table, common ground. I'm these sets of videos that I do in English gives you a perspective of an immigrant that came to the U.S. and lived the American dream, and wants to share where I stand and where I have what got me to start doing these videos in English because my channel had always been Arabic, and now I'm doing the English side of it because I saw a vacuum in there. There's a vacuum in where I want to take this to the next level, and the next level is I'm in the middle. I see both sides, and I want to explain both sides. Something that when I first came to the U.S., I thought that journalist was that way. That's how you're supposed to do your things, and I'm not a journalist, but I used to always hear people say, well, this is just a commentary, this is not the news. And what I'm going to show you is not even the news either. It's just that I am going to be telling you about different things that I see, and I see both sides. I don't know why I see both sides, but I do. My son always told me that one of the things that I will never win an argument because I see both sides. And I think that in a lot of people think that that's a weakness. I think that's an advantage. Winning an argument just so I can stick to one side and just to win an argument doesn't it makes me very unhappy. It makes me that I won an argument where people win arguments that way in courts where they're going to be paid to win a case or something like that. But in life, we should not be just winning an argument just because I'm sticking to one side or the other. I really think that we should see both sides of the equation. And if we don't, then we're the ones who end up suffering. And we're seeing that around the world. We're seeing that right now in the US government. We've seen that for the longest time in the Middle East, where I usually do most of my broadcasting, but I do it in Arabic. So it started out where the U.S. was the place, or the West in general, were the place where people saw both sides. They were accommodating. They were welcoming. They saw, like, okay, you are from Iraq, so tell us about Iraq. How is it? What do you do there? How, nobody passes judgments. Nobody does anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. And this was when I came here, it was 48 years ago, 47, 48 years ago. And that's the way that was, and it stayed in until very recently. I'm not going to put blames on anything, but recently we have become a one-sided argument type nation. Not just us, but the West, where they were the same way. And I'm not going to say that it started from this or started from that, but it is wrong. The best part about the best presidents that we always talk about in this country are the people that actually leaned across the aisle and saw the other side. When we don't see that in general in our community, in our nation, our neighborhood, it's very wrong. When we see a sign for a political, somebody who's running for political office, and that person we don't like, then we immediately feel this hatred inside us. We immediately feel this despise that we want to take that sign out and replace it, or in some cases there have been some crimes committed, like some violence happening just because of a political sign. And that's just so wrong. The people who win, in my opinion, are the ones that basically sow that divide, make it all one, and get it closer. And let's say this is okay. This is how you see the things on this side. Let me show you how it should be, or it is. I see it on this side. And unless we get to where both sides are very close and sewn together, this country is going to be divided. And it doesn't matter who started it or how it started, whatever the reason is, we are in a very bad place right now. And we gotta work together to make everything uniformly. One of the things that people always talk about, well, my, religious wise, there's a lot of people that say, you're not going to go to heaven unless it was through Jesus. And the Muslim think that you're not going to go to heaven unless it's through Muhammad. And both sides, we don't know. But both sides, this, whether it's Jesus or Muhammad or Abraham or any religion, teach us to do the same thing while we're on earth. So why are we arguing about something that we don't know in the future after we die? And why don't we agree on the things that we're doing right now that we are taught to do while we're here? Being peaceful, being accommodating, being loving, being helpful. When you see someone who needs help, you go help them. When you see someone who's hungry, you go feed them. All of this is uniformly across board for any human religion. Whether even people who don't believe in God, this is one of the things that I always say, that even before the first religion that showed up on the face of the earth, rights and wrongs were there. So you felt very bad when someone hurt someone, beat them up, them, whatever. It felt bad for the person who's doing it and the people around them. So it is the rights and the wrongs have been there even before the prophets and Jesus, and everybody had come to earth and tried to preach the word of God, the religions of God. So why can't we go to that and bring and deal with that? One of the things that my friends ask me, well, I'm Baptist and you're not. Why don't you just switch and become a Baptist, be like me, and because we're gonna go to heaven together. And I'm thinking, and I always tell them, what does your religion teach you? It teaches you to be good to one another, to love one another, to help one another, to have a clean heart when you talk with one another. You need to be accommodating, helpful. I believe that we were put on this earth to help one another. That's the number one religion, mandate in my belief, that man were put on this earth to help one another. We're supposed to pull one another to get them to the next level. So civilizations, when they become more advanced, they should pull the other nations also, which is evidence. That's what we do. That's why America goes to Africa and to the undeveloped nations and help them. And this is how we have reached, maybe about 10 or 20 years ago, we were at that level where people and countries and nations were doing that. And then suddenly, well, not suddenly, it started to slowly going down, and people stopped helping one another. The Peace Corps was closed, and everything was dismantled, and the cost was high. People were, and these happened for a reason. Peace Corps would have stayed on. The help to other nations and help to bring other nations up, and people were helping each other. That happened. That stopped because there were corruptions. People started looking at it and saying, wait, nobody knows this, but if I write this in my proposal and I get this extra $10,000, I can put it in my pocket. Nobody would know about it. So this person did it, that person did it. We're seeing it over and over and over again. And they talk about all these corruptions that are happening all over the world and happening here now in the United States. And all of this is due to human nature, as good as people are. And when they start going into the bad side of things, that pulls a lot of people with them too. So there's the good people and the good-natured acts, not just people, but things that are good things that should be happening. They move, and a lot of people move with it, and they go to a good place. And sometimes along the way, bad things happen, and people say, okay, well, now I can get away with this. Let's not go there. It's very hard work to do it all right and not be corrupt. But let me show you this other way. Let's go this side and let's steal money. Let's be corrupt and then pull people that way. And because the authorities are not going about it the way they should, by trying to teach them what the consequences of this is, and what consequences of doing it right is, and the rewards by doing it right, and the consequences of doing it wrong. And so for that, now after all these years, for all these things have been going on and happening, and I'm talking about all over the world. Where I came from in Iraq, we always said that Saddam was a horrible leader. Let's change him. Let's move him out. People lobbied the United States forever and ever so they can go and remove Saddam. And Saddam was removed. Then the Iraqis say, we removed one Saddam and now we have 300 and 400 Saddams in there. And the reason they say that is because Saddam sucked all their money, all their resources, took it to him and his family, and now all of the ones that are there are doing the same thing. And instead of going there and teaching people how they do that, there's the United States and all these countries that went there to develop Iraq had no plans whatsoever. These are people. I mean, I thought that these were geniuses, but it turned out that they were people, and people make mistakes. And when they make mistakes, everybody in the world started saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done it. You're wrong. And you should be put in jail because you're teaching these people wrong. And when that happened, when people started looking around and everybody was blaming them, the same people that everybody was begging so they can go there and get rid of Saddam, and they did that thinking that everybody in the world is going to thank them. Well, instead, there were all these other things that they were not planned right, and everything collapsed on them. And now we have a nation of a lot of corrupt people in there. And what I don't like about what's happening in Iraq is the fact that people still think that if you work for the government, that's the only way to make good money, where in fact that should be the opposite. People in the private sector should be the ones who are, given the creativity, the availability to be creative and make, do businesses and entrepreneurship and grow that way. So these things are still a struggle, and it will develop into something in the future, hopefully on the positive side. While I've always said, let's try to get the Americans or the West to go there and help them out. Well, it turns out that we're in the West are in the process are getting divided. We should be very, very united. We should be all very absolutely on one. We show one front to everybody outside the United States. The United States, the government and the people here is like a family. Inside the family, we have problems. We have this problem, and don't go out after midnight, and come. Why did you come back here? All these problems happen. But when we show ourselves to the outside, to the neighborhood, to the community, we're actually one front, and we show a united front and we have the ability to teach others how to behave and all that. Well, we're not doing that. We're fractured now, and we're showing that divide to the world. And once you do that, then everybody's going to try to lean on the one side that they like, and that fracture is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. And now I know that if I have a nephew or a niece that is on, whether she's Republican or he's Democrat, the minute I mention something that they don't like, I mention something that is on one side and not the other, then immediately I get, chewed out by the other side. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to argue it. They don't want to talk about it. And that's so wrong. This is the country where everything is negotiated. This is how we talk. This is how we do it. Those countries, the Iraqis, the undeveloped countries, are still trying to, grow. So when they don't know how to negotiate, they don't know how talk with one another, how to have different fronts and whatever. Those people, I can excuse them because they're not developed and civilized as we are here in the United States. But we're doing the same thing. So the bottom line is, instead of us teaching them, they're teaching us how to be divided. We should teach them how to be united, and they're teaching us how to be divided. How is that possible? Why are we going that direction? Why can't we now, all the resources that I was thinking we should send overseas to help people get united, we should spend it here so we get united, and that's everybody. Now, I know that some Republican who's running for Republican office wants, this is the nature of the beast, that you run on your side, you talk about your side, and the other side is the opponent talking about that. But I'm talking about once they receive office, once they get into office, then it should not be this hatred talk about the other side. You already have that position. All you need to do right now is make your community one in order to win their love, in order to win their attention. Now the community had deteriorated so much to where it doesn't matter who wins, as long as he's on the other side. The minute I say to one of my nieces, who is who's a Democrat, that we have this person who's talking, and the minute she hears that this person is a Republican, she doesn't want to hear anything. And that's the same across the board. That is the same across the board. Nobody wants to hear from the other side, even if the other side is advocating your point of view. That's so wrong. This is not the America I moved to. I love this country. I love what it stands for. I love what it gave me. It gave me a life there's no way I could have had I stayed in Iraq. And here is that same country that's doing all that had done all this, that had raised so many people from 0 to 100. Now it's showing fracture from top to bottom. Why is it that people, adult, educated, graduates from very high positions in colleges, whatever, the minute they know that this other person is on a different side of the politics, religion, or any point of view, then immediately there is some kind of bashing. There's always like, I'm not going to hear him because he's wrong. Well, did you hear what he said? He may have just said hello. That's the part that really makes no sense to me as someone on the, like my son says, I'll never win an argument because I see both sides. So for someone like myself, please educate me. Why should I hate the other side before I hear him out? Why should I always think whatever the other side is saying is wrong? Plus, there is another part. If I'm a Republican and I'm hearing the Republican, that does not mean that I follow this Republican all the way till death do us part. That's wrong too. A Democrat should not follow every Democrat leader till death do them part. There are things that we should agree with and not agree with, because we as the nation, we as the people are the leaders, not them. The Republican president or Republican or Democrat president or a senator or congressman or whatever, they're not the leaders. They're our representatives. We are their leaders. We tell them how to think, not the other way around. That's what I don't understand. That's why there are all these divisions. That one person gets into position, and then that person wants to take us on whatever ride he wants to take us, and we just say yes. Okay, yes. Wait a minute. What am I thinking today? What is the Democrat said? He said this. Okay, well, that's what I'm thinking. Isn't that absolutely outrageously wrong? And we want to go teach other countries how to do this? This is ridiculous. We should look at both sides, the common ground, the compromise. All of this is here, is made in America, and this is where we should move from here. We should heal. We should sow our differences, and we should heal ourselves and move forward to the next level, to the next life, going back is what we want to do. Going back to unity is what we want to go. That's where we want to be. And then we go to other countries and try to help them and try to save their problems. Right now, we need to sit here and help ourselves. And this is where we have the common ground, is stay and find the common grounds before we do anything else. And again, welcome to Talat Sofra, the dinner table, and that's where you'll find common grounds.